Hey everybody, I'm Katherine Sprung, and today we're going to be making some delicious brownies. I've teamed up with Renewal Mill. This is an amazing company. These brownies are vegan, gluten-free, non-GMO, made with upcycled ingredients. Amazing. So we've got to fancify them a little bit. So we're going to be making some s'mores brookies using this brownie mix. So let's get started. First thing that we're going to do is the cookie base. So we're going to be making a brown sugar cookie to kind of mimic that graham from the s'mores vibe. So let's start with, we've got a stand mixer here. If you don't have a stand mixer, this is something you can totally do with a hand mixer. So just swap out this for your hand mixer, you're good to go. I'm going to be using a paddle attachment, which I prefer if you do have a stand mixer like this. This is going to make creaming your butter and sugar a lot easier. But again, if you don't have it, don't worry. Use what you got. Times are tough, so, you know, use what you have. I have my chilled butter here. Super important, I think, for just that perfect cookie consistency, cold butter. So let's go ahead and add that in. We've got our butter and our brown sugar. Perfect. And let's just get that going. Just so we can get all the ingredients starting to incorporate there. And it's just a visual effect. So once you start to see the ingredients coming together with the sugar and the butter so that it's not flying everywhere, then that's when we can gradually start to turn it up so we really get that nice whipping motion in there to create lots of air and get that fluffy consistency of the butter and sugar together. So you can see it's starting to come together almost like Play-Doh. And so now we can start to turn that up. But already you can kind of see, I'll slow it down here just so you can see already how much lighter that is. So it's starting to look really, really great. So let's just get that going for just a little bit longer. All right. So now this is looking pretty great to me. So we're going to go ahead and add in, we'll leave our bowl locked into place. We're gonna add in our egg. Everything goes in. I like to typically try to use a room temperature egg. That way it doesn't separate the butter. If you don't, it's not a big deal. Trust me, I've done it many times. It's still going to totally work. But I typically do like to use room temperature. So we're just going to get that incorporated in there. All right. We don't need to overwork it. So next we're just going to slowly add in our flour, and we've got a little bit of baking soda as well. So we'll just add that into our flour there, and some salt, optional, but I think that a little bit of salt always gives this just a nice touch. A few shakes of that, good to go. Not a science, just have fun, maybe not too much, a little bit goes a long way. And we're just going to add this in batches. We don't want it all in at once because then it's going to just poof up in a cloud of flour. A little bit to start till it all starts to come together. And then just keep on adding it in. This is not too much, so it shouldn't take terribly long. Maybe 3 to 4 different rounds of it. Right, this is our third. We might be able to get it all in this third shot here. I do think so. So 3 is the magic number for us, but do whatever is right for you. And the other thing too is you don't want to over mix your cookie dough. Just get it so that everything is incorporated. like we have here. And this is great. So we'll leave this here for a second because this is going to be our first layer of the Brookie. So grab a pan. For this recipe, we're going to be using an 8x8. If you have something of similar dimensions that's going to get you there, totally fine. But this, if you do have an 8x8 like this, that is perfect. What I like to do is line it with parchment paper. That way you don't have to worry about greasing anything and your cleanup is super easy at the end. Now what we want to do is just kind of line the bottom with a nice layer. It doesn't need to be too thick. We actually don't want it too thick. So far I've got about 2 handfuls. We just want kind of a thin layer here, just so it almost mimics somewhat of like a pie crust or something like that. We don't want it to overpower our recipe. All right, we are just about there. Just gonna make sure all of our corners are filled in with our cookie dough. I think that we can even spread this out and not even need any more. Looks good to me. All right. So we've got our cookie dough there lined in the base. That's perfect. And we'll just set this aside real quick. And let's get started on our brownies. So we've got our mix here. Let's go ahead, add that into our bowl. All right. And you already smell like that chocolatey cocoa goodness. Perfect. All right. So we've got all of our mixture in there. And then next we're going to add in our oil and water. So it calls for 3/4 cup of hot water and 6 tablespoons of oil. So let's get those into the bowl. We've got our water here. And then we're going to measure out our 6 tablespoons. If you want, if it's easier for you, you can do 1/4 cup plus 2 tablespoons. That'll be the same, but if you want to save one thing, we'll just count these out. So we've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and 6. I feel like sometimes if I don't count out loud, I'm going to forget where I'm at, and then we end up with a mystery amount of oil. So let's get our bowl locked into place, and we're gonna go very slow to start. And it does say in here too that you can add any of your favorite mix-ins in and things like that. I have added some chocolate chunks because I think that a little bit of extra chocolate can certainly not hurt a situation. So we've got some of those, but we're gonna wait until this all comes together. It's already looking pretty great, so we can probably flick this off and just check it out. So depending on different recipes, that you might make. Some brownie batters are going to be different consistencies than others. This consistency in particular, to me, is closer to kind of a cookie dough. Sometimes they're very liquidy. So this is what you're looking for in this scenario. So we've got a nice thick batter here. And let's just double check. Yes, we can add the chips in now. So we'll add those in. It doesn't say how many you can add, so you can add in as many as you'd like. We'll just get those stirred in. All right, they're in. So now, let's unlock our bowl here and get this guy off since it has lots and lots of that batter into it. And we'll pull out our tray here of the cookie dough base. And we're just going to go ahead and add this just right on top. So let's start adding in our brownie. Equal distribution there. And it's easier to form into the rest of the pan. And for this recipe, since it is s'mores, we're gonna kind of keep it simple and respect the s'mores equation. So we're doing the chocolate, the brownie component with the chocolate chips. We're doing the brown sugar cookie to mimic that graham cracker, and then we're going to be adding a whipped marshmallow fluff on top of that. All right, I think this looks pretty great to me. So now that that's set, we've got our oven set at 350. This recipe calls for 40 to 45 minutes. What I usually suggest is starting a little bit less. Everybody's oven's a little bit different, so you just want to make sure yours doesn't overcook. So start a little bit less sometimes. I'm going to start at 35 minutes, give it a little check, do the little toothpick check, make sure it comes out nice and clean. And then once it's perfect, then we're ready to move on to our next step. So we're going to go pop this into the oven and see you for the next step.
A little longer than a few minutes later.
Okay, so our brownies are out of the oven. While they were cooling, I whipped up some of our marshmallow cream, marshmallow fluff, whatever you want to say. We also sell that in these cute, adorable little jars here. But that is going to be our final component to really make this our s'more brookie. So we're going to take some of this lovely fluffy marshmallow cream, and just as kind of a pro tip, whenever you're using a piping bag, I've supplied mine with a star tip because we're going to make a fancy marshmallow topping. You can easily just do a little dollop on top, whatever makes you happy, but today this is how we're doing it. I always take a piping bag and put it into a cup. So let's get some of this out of here and into our cup. And a little bit is going to go a long way, so we'll start off slow and then you can add more if you want. All right, so we've got this prepared, ready to go. Can really shine. You can make any kind of designs that you want, but here let's just kind of make our little stars all along. We've got our little stars, so you look super professional, but really, this did all the work. Then, my favorite part, we really have to s'morify this. So we've got our little brulee torch. You can pick these up pretty much anywhere online. We actually have a little link in our Amazon shop. You can find that as well. And you want to start on a low setting so that you don't torch anything that's not supposed to be torched. So we've got our low setting here, and we're just going to glaze that gently over the top. If you'd prefer it just to stay as it is, you can certainly do that. But I think it definitely needs a little bit of toastiness. You tell me if it doesn't get better than that. And then even those little toasted edges there even add more definition to our little star tip decoration. So this is our final result. Super pretty, I think. Looks good, but of course we need to see if it tastes good. It looks delicious, so I really do think that it will be, but yeah, guys, this is super delicious. The brownie is rich and fudgy and amazing. Renewal Mill, you guys knocked it out of the park. I hope you guys enjoyed this super simple recipe for a s'mores brookie. I'm Katherine Sprung. I'll see you guys next time.